And without any further, whoops, I think somebody might need to mute their phone. But without any further ado, we definitely want to welcome all of you who are joining us tonight across the country, and especially welcome Dr. Mike and Dr. Ginger. So Dr. Mike, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Woodson. It's interesting when people talk about losing weight and they start on this program, and I've made the comment that everyone who starts the program, when they first hear what the program consists of, everyone's a skeptic. And this is the reason why I chose to show on the following slide what we call these drops, because yes, when you first hear what the drops can do, and yes, when you first start to feel and see what the drops can do, they can in fact seem like magic drops. Now, there's nothing magic about it. There is science behind it, and that's one of the things I truly, truly love about the way this whole system was put together. We don't just talk about integrating different systems. We talk about putting systems from allopathic medicine, which is my background, a doctor of medicine, but we also use homeopathic principles. And so the product line merges several different disciplines, the whole goal being, here's what works. Let's use this stuff that works. So for those of you who have been using the magic drops over the last few weeks, and for those of you who are contemplating using the magic drops to help you on your weight loss journey, let's actually go into what's in the drops and why they work. So this is the ingredients list for Slenderiix, the clear solution, and this is the homeopathic component of the whole system. I will go down the ingredients one at a time, and without getting everyone bogged down in too much detail, I will tell you what each component is being used principally for. Now understand, that means that each component may have secondary and tertiary actions, but these primary actions are what are the most pronounced and why this system works. So, and yes, on the far left side of the screen, it lists the ingredients in Latin. And that is simply a medical convention. Whether you're talking about homeopathic listings or allopathic medicine, in a lot of the scientific world, Latin is used simply because it is considered a dead language, meaning the meaning of a particular word won't change tomorrow. As some of us older folks find out, we use a word from 20 years ago and people look at us and go, my God, that is so old. So ammonium bromatum is simply ammonium bromide, and it is used in homeopathic medicine to control chronic obesity. Avena sativa is the common or wild oat plant, and it has a mild sedative effect. Calcarea carbonica is calcium carbonate, and in homeopathic systems, a tincture of this is used to control the appetite as well as the cravings for carbs. Fucus vesiculosus, or bladderwrack seaweed, was actually the original source of iodine. Iodine is a very important supplement, especially when you talk about aiding and helping and supporting the thyroid gland. You may have a reasonably healthy thyroid gland, but if you're iodine deficient, you will actually show signs and symptoms of what today we call goiter disease. But it was found that simply consuming a little bit of bladderwrack seaweed would supply enough iodine that goiter did not show up. Graphites are simply a carbon allotrope. An allotrope is simply another form of carbon, like diamonds are an allotrope of carbon, graphite is another type of carbon, charcoal is another type of carbon. It's all carbon, but the crystal structure is different amongst the three. This is used specifically to control the hunger pangs. Ignatia amara, Strychnos ignatii bean, controls overeating. Lycopodium clavatum, club moss extract, controls cravings for sweets. And I think you should notice by now that there's an overlapping of different effects. And yes, it is somewhat heavy in controlling the appetite as well as controlling cravings for carbs as well as sweets. Then we come to the last three components. Nux vomica, which are seeds of the strychnine tree. no, you will not get poisoned by this, because understand, the whole philosophy behind homeopathic medicine is we take a substance that would normally cause illness, disease, or death and dilute it down into nearly non-traceable quantities to then initiate that same reaction in the human body so that the body learns to deal with the situation. And for those of you who might say that, you know, homeopathic sounds a lot like voodoo, let me remind you that anyone who's ever undergone allergy desensitization undergoes the exact same process. Let's say that you're allergic to penicillin, and you do have really, really bad reactions to it, to the point that you're told to wear a bracelet and carry an epinephrine pen to keep you from dying. Well, if we have to give that individual penicillin for any reason, a particular infection that's only responsive to penicillin, we will take that same penicillin and dilute it down 1,000,000-fold and administer it to the individual, and gradually work our way up 1,000,000, 100,000, 10,000, 1,000, hundreds, tens in terms of dilution, until the body learns to simply disregard the allergic reaction. By the same token, anyone who's ever had an immunization, we take the same substance, the bacteria, the virus, whatever the case may be, we weaken it, we inactivate it, we dilute it, and then we administer it as the vaccine. Now, those two things I just mentioned are precisely what homeopathic medicine sounds like. So when we talk about seeds of the strychnine tree, we are not trying to poison you, we're not trying to kill you. What it does, however, it improves your sense of satiety, that sense of fullness after you eat. And it's mostly by making the smooth muscles of the stomach lining start tightening up. What happens with chronic overeating, our stomach, which should normally be about the size of a loosely clenched fist, the stomach becomes saggy and baggy, and it expands and expands and expands and expands. So much so that frequently the amount of food that it can now receive at any one time is clearly way beyond what the body needs. But that's because there's no pushback by the stomach against the amount of food being consumed. You start on this particular product, and because of that effect, the muscles start contracting and the stomach starts shrinking back to its original shape, which in layman's terms, you're eating, you just can't eat as much as before because you feel full sooner. We also have sulfuric acidum, which is simply sulfuric acid, and again, it improves the sense of satiety. Our stomach produces hydrochloric acid as part of the digestive process. If we simply add a little bit more acid to the situation, if we simply signal to the stomach that, you know what, you've had a lot of acid already because you've already dealt with a lot of food, the signal is sent that, hey, we don't need to eat anymore. And so that is how that works. The last component, thyroidinium, is simply thyroid extract. And no, you're not getting thyroid hormone like you would with levothyroxine or you would with Armour-thyroid, but it is a tincture of thyroid, and what it does, of course, is it helps to upregulate the metabolism. It speeds up your metabolism. So if you look on the far right side of that slide now and quickly go down that list of what each individual component does, you'll notice that it moves from dealing with obesity, calming down your cravings, controlling the cravings and the need to eat too much food, and then it triggers the sense of satiety, the fullness, and then it boosts the metabolism. So this is a very well thought out combination of ingredients, and clearly people who have used the drops, they typically by the second day and definitely by the third day, they come back and they say, you know what, I am not eating as much, I'm not hungry as before, and it's amazing because I don't crave the carbs that I used to. So this is the homeopathic component of the system. The next slide shows us the more conventional or allopathic medicine side of the equation. And for me, this was one of the big turning points. The ingredient that we have in our system, B12, is in the form of methylcobalamin. Our body uses methylcobalamin. There's another form of B12 readily available out there, and it is cyanocobalamin. It is a B12 molecule bound to a cyanide molecule. And that is part of the problem. You get a shot of B12 in the form of cyanocobalamin, and your body may need the B12 a lot, but if it's removing the cyanide molecule too rapidly, the liver has to slow things down while it detoxifies the cyanide molecule. So even though getting an injection should be the most efficacious, most rapid way to deliver B12, what typically happens with cyanocobalamin, not ours, but the common injectable form, is it slows down because the body has to deal with the toxic effect of the cyanide molecule. Well, that does not exist with the methylcobalamin, which is why, and this has happened time and time and time again, typically within 20 to 30 minutes of people placing this particular component under their tongue, they can sense the energy levels rising. And they, at the beginning, like I said, everyone starts out as a skeptic, and they look around and go, this cannot be working this rapidly. Trust me, it is, and yes, it does. B12 is essential. It is essential for nerve health. And when I talk about nerve health, I'm talking about nerves, the peripheral nerves, the nerves that run from the spinal cord out to the different organs and the muscles and the skin, the nerves that run up and down the spinal column, the spinal cord, as well as the nerves in the brain. The worst possible manifestation of B12 deficiency is dementia. And the good news is there is no such thing as overdosing with B12. So, yes, by all means, take the B12. Biotin, the second component, is one of the B vitamins. It's also known as vitamin H, and it helps regulate sugar levels, and it helps overcome insulin resistance. It helps regulate sugar levels, meaning you don't get these ridiculous spikes and then the fall that leads to tiredness, sleepiness, lethargy. It also helps to overcome insulin resistance, meaning your body makes a certain amount of insulin and it works just as well as it did, say, 20 years ago. It is the overproduction of insulin when you have insulin resistance that leads to fat deposition. So if we can overcome insulin resistance, that whole thing goes away. Rose hips fruit extract. If you take a look at the flower, the rose, that bulb underneath the flower is a very, very good source of vitamin C. And in homeopathic medicine, this is a slight overlap between the two different disciplines. In homeopathic medicine, it is used as a stomach tonic. It quiets down the stomach so that you don't get these sensations of needing to throw up or your gut grumbling and rumbling all day long. The acerola fruit is also known as the West Indian cherry, and it is actually one of the planet's richest sources of vitamins C, A, and B. In fact, it has so much vitamin C in it, it is roughly the equivalent of 3 regular oranges just in that one acerola fruit. And then the last component, the energy blend, which is green tea leaf extract, fresh ashwagandha root extract, and rhodiola rosea root extract. It helps calm the brain, it reduces inflammation, it lowers the blood pressure, and it improves immune function. For those of you who have noticed that your blood pressure has gone down, but you still have not lost a lot of weight yet, this is the reason why. This is the reason why. So moving on to the next slide, for those who have already used the drops, the magic drops, this will sound familiar. For those of you who are contemplating using it, this is what you would normally expect to see and feel. You will get a tight feeling in the abdomen or stomach. Remember what the strychnine was doing. It's making the stomach shrink back to its normal size. You'll have a sense of fullness after eating less food, again, through the same mechanism, which, of course, because you're eating less, will help you stay on track. You will develop a slight distaste for simple carbs. What this really translates to, everything that has any sugar in it will start tasting too sweet. Too sweet. I have a confession to make. I used to put as much as 4 to 6 teaspoons of sugar, regular sugar, back in the day when I would drink a mug of coffee. I now put 1 packet of pure stevia into a mug of coffee, and it's still a little too syrupy for me. You'll also notice that you'll have a slower rate of eating, and this is because of the effects in the brain. Your sense of overwhelming hunger has been calmed down, so you're not trying to shovel food in as fast as you possibly can. You'll also notice that there will be no sag in energy levels, which is frequently seen in people who are trying to cut back on food intake, and it's because of all the different components that were designed specifically to either boost energy production or boost a sense of energy in you. And coupled with all of this, you will have the alertness balanced with calmness. You will not be bouncing off the walls because this is, after all, not a stimulant in the conventional sense. Now, that's the normal stuff. Signs that you will have early success, and this is always an interesting topic for me to talk about because so many people will start on the drops and they'll develop some symptoms and they think that they're having bad reactions. So the next slide clearly shows that you will have a few things that will predict success. And so long as you understand what these represent, do not pull back from the program. You may develop a dull headache. Part of that will be from lower calorie intake. Part of that will be from the way the components are interacting with receptors in the brain. What typically happens, it goes away by the 3rd day. You will typically develop a rash under the jawbone or the chin, along the neck, and what we call the antecubital space. It's the front side of the elbow. It's that crease, okay? And for as many people that develop this rash who think they're having a bad reaction to the system, the answer is no. The drops are encouraging your fat to go away. Unfortunately, so many toxins are in fact trapped in the fat, and these toxins are now circulating in your blood, and they cause these rashes. And if you recognize these things, the solution would be to increase the use of Restorix or start the use of Restorix if you're not currently using it. And we'll cover that on another segment. You may develop a slight sensation of nausea. You may have some swelling of the lymph nodes, and you may have swelling or mild inflammation of the joints. Again, these are signs of toxins being released from the fat, so these are actually signs of success. They're not signs of you having an adverse reaction. What you need to do is get ahead of the toxin release or start the detox product if you did not. And then there are some less common effects that people see, and again, the more they show up, the more people tend to think that they're having a bad reaction, and so they pull away. My advice always is stay with the program. You may need to increase the use of a detox product. So the next slide will show the unusual but good results. You may have mild lightheadedness. This is part of the reason why we want you to drink so much water. The extra volume will not only help flush out toxins, but it will offset the lightheadedness that can come. You may get numbness and tingling sensations. I have some very good news for those folks who have had these as a side effect. That numbness and tingling sensation represents the B12 being used by your body to repair your nerve cells. That's a very good thing. Consequently, you may also have a creepy, crawly sensation on the skin. That is part and parcel of nerve repair going on. You can sometimes have a sensation of flushing of the skin or a sensation of hot flashes. For members of the audience who have knowledge of this, it's not the same as menopausal hot flashes. It's simply a sense of energy being released by your body. Again, this is a good thing because the B12 is being used by your body, and essentially your body has not yet seen enough of it, so it's trying to use it as rapidly as possible. The good news is if you have these things show up, use more of the Xceler8. Now, all of that is well and good, but here's the short version. The next slide tells us, you know, you can get bogged down in all the little details and all the different components of this, that, and the other thing. I would ask you not to do that, because at the end of the day, it might look very complicated on paper, but if it works, it works. Now, We're going to leave the magic drops for now, and we're going to go on to the Nutrify line. I have said repeatedly, the foundation of this whole program is good nutrition, okay? And that slide shows quite a few other nutritional products that are not part of the core weight management system. Some of those products are used for maintenance therapy depending on your particular experience with the program and your particular needs. And those are the things that we will then advise you on based on feedback. So, and there have been folks who have heard me say this repeatedly. If you are not nutritionally sound, do not ask your body to release fat. You're forcing the body to do something it does not want to do. So if you know that you're not nutritionally sound, you haven't been eating fruits and vegetables, you've been avoiding supplements for a good long period of time, this is where you start. Now, the main key takeaway point for the vitamins and the minerals, the optimals as we call them, is that it is your nutritional insurance policy. The next slide shows us that people think, for some reason or another, that the need for supplementation, especially with vitamins and minerals, goes away as we age. Nothing could be further from the truth. The older we get, the less resilient our bodies are. In fact, even our absorption of the food we eat tends to diminish. And so if we're not supplying everything in overabundance, we are going to very rapidly, but quietly, slip into a nutritionally poor situation. So the best way to think about the vitamins and the minerals, your insurance policy. The next slide shows all the different components that are found in the vitamins and the minerals. Now, I'm not showing that so that you all can strain your eyeballs and read it, okay? It's listed there so that for those of you who want to compare with other products out there, by all means, go do so. You're going to find that our products more than hold their ground. More importantly, for the minerals is what is not in there. A few years ago, iron, the mineral iron, was implicated as a causative factor for heart disease. And rather than push that particular situation and possibly make things worse, the company took iron out. There's no iron in the mineral side of it. The other reason why the two products are developed separately is if we need to change the formula of one or the other, we can do so fairly easily. The thing about our vitamins, they are plant-based. For those of you who've already started to take the vitamins, yes, it's 3 capsules twice a day. And the reason for that is, since we're using plant-based sources, not highly purified artificial chemicals, it's going to take up a little bit of space. And rather than ask you to take one big horse pill twice a day, it got split up into 3 smaller capsules, easier to swallow. People tend not to gag on it. It's a lot simpler. Now, when it comes to vitamins and minerals and any supplement in the nutritional side of the world, the next slide highlights some of the things that we deal with on a daily basis. We need nutritional supplements in today's fast-paced world. It's amazing to me, looking at folks who are finishing up med school, the pace at which they do things. Yes, I went through med school, but I don't remember my pace being that crazy. And so, you know, you will run out of gas at some point unless you take supplementation. These are the highest quality. They are science-driven products. And this is one of those things that I'm constantly looking over to make sure that it is what the company says it is. And if it's any consolation to people out there, every product our company makes has been vetted by third parties. And these are typically done anonymously. And then they just announce that, yep, the label and the contents of the product are the same, if not more in the product. If you have a hectic life, if you expect to deliver more than 100% on a regular, sustained basis, you need nutritional support. You need to have supplementation. There are a lot of people who are going to say that you don't need supplements, but in a talk at a fairly prominent university not too long ago, I posed this question. Nobody questions the need for babies to get vitamins and minerals. And every athlete that I know uses supplementation. So where do we then go and say that we regular folks don't need supplementation? Are we second best? I think not. I think not. And therefore, when people say, well, you know, you're just going to make expensive urine and this, that, and the other thing, my answer always is two groups of folks, those who have lots of growing up to do and those who perform at the highest levels athletically and physically. Nobody questions their need for supplementation. I want to belong to the second group, high performance, for as long as I can sustain it. So I have covered the magic drops, which is the cornerstone of the program, and I have covered the nutritional foundation for the program. Now I believe Dr. Ginger is going to talk about the other components.
Yes, we're going to bring Dr. Ginger on. And Dr. Mike, before you go, I wanted to ask a question, and I am going to go back to that vitamin and mineral slide. It's my understanding that these vitamins and minerals are going to be included in the newest edition and forthcoming editions of the Physician's Desk Reference. Is that?
Yes, my understanding is that in July, the online version will reflect it, and the Physician's Desk Reference, or the PDR, is typically published around October and then distributed to doctors and healthcare workers in the last quarter of the year. The PDR is the standard reference for every drug, whether prescription or over-the-counter, that a healthcare worker might see or prescribe. We are going to be in the over-the-counter category, but it represents a further approval or a further recognition of the quality of the products. And the quality is not because we say that they're good. The quality is because it's been tested repeatedly by third parties, anonymously, and we pass muster each and every time.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great to know. I was excited when I heard that, but I didn't know really what that meant. I knew it was important, so thank you for clearing that up for us. So now we're going to switch gears, and we are going to listen to the wonderful and esteemed Dr. Ginger, and she's going to talk about some of the newest additions to our MG28 system. I'm so excited to hear about this. Dr. Ginger, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. We hear you loud and clear. So here we go. We're so excited to have you joining us tonight. So tell us about the 3 new additions to Pure Nourish.
Well, if you've utilized the Pure Nourish Peach, you're going to really want to take a look for maybe your next set of 8 weeks at some of these new additions that Ariix is incorporating, and they're always, as they add new products, above and beyond what we had before, and I'm going to show you that tonight. So if we move on to the first slide, there's 3 products. So we have a Pure Nourish Natural Flavor, which is that big bag that you see on the far right, and then we have 2 boosts that you add to it. One is called a Beauty Boost, and it's orange flavored, and one is called a Power Boost, and it's cocoa flavored. So if we move on to the next slide, I will give you the details. So the Pure Nourish Natural is, of course, a plant-based protein powder. It's pea protein and cranberry fruit protein. The peach that you're used to is pea and almond, so this is excluding the almond, but you can always add almonds back in and mix it up in a nut or a seed milk. It incorporates vitamins and minerals, but the real key here is the digestive blend. And so the digestive blend includes something called prebiotics, we have probiotics, we have enzymes, and the big ingredient is the vitafiber. So I'm going to go through each one of those 3. In your gut, in your intestines, you have good bacteria and bad bacteria. And when you're healthy, they are in the proper proportions. But for most people, because we're very acidic and we've taken antibiotics and all sorts of medications throughout our life, the balance of the good and bad bacteria in our intestines and in our gut is off balance. And so I'm sure you have heard of the term probiotics. You can go to the health food store and buy supplements that are probiotics, various strains, that is utilized to recolonize the good bacteria and hopefully degrow the bad bacteria that may have overtaken it. And so that's what the probiotics in this will do. It will give you some new good, pro meaning good, biotic meaning bacteria. So we've got good bacteria. Now the prebiotics that are in here, that is kind of like the food for the probiotics. That's a fertilizer, so to speak, for the probiotics. So we've got the food for the probiotics, we've got the good bacteria, the probiotics, and then we also have enzymes. And enzymes are like, to me, they're like the magic in food, and they're the magic in this. But in particular, when it comes to food, that's why I'm such a big fan of raw food, because they're full of enzymes that help digest that food. That's why I never worry about calories when you do raw food, because they're full of enzymes and it kind of helps you digest that food. But enzymes are a huge part of all metabolic functions in your body. And so we've included those in here in this prebiotic, probiotic, enzyme blend, but the real ingredient here is the VitaFiber, and I'm going to explain that in more detail in a moment. But basically, you take 2 scoops of this Pure Nourish Natural, add it to 8 ounces of water. You can add in some nuts or seeds to kind of make a nut or seed milk. And as always, I always like to tell people to add a handful of leafy greens, like some kale or some spinach or something along those lines, to just give you some more greens for the day. So if we move on to the next slide, we're going to talk about that VitaFiber. Now the VitaFiber is a prebiotic, so it's that food for the intestinal bacteria. It's a fiber-based, and fiber is great because fiber is a cholesterol magnet. Low-level sweetener, meaning low glycemic, meaning it will not shoot your blood sugar up, so it's great for diabetics. So it's a prebiotic, fiber-based, low-level sweetener derived from various organic plant-based crops, and you know I love that, such as peas, beans, lentils, oats, or barley, using an enzyme-catalyzed process. So again, it's a plant-based product. The fermentation of this VitaFiber in the gut produces, and I'm not going to get too complicated here, but just so you know, produces short-chain fatty acids, which benefit us in the following ways. It helps stabilize blood glucose levels, so it's great for diabetics, anyone with blood sugar issues. This particular sweetener is great for that. It suppresses cholesterol synthesis, so it's going to help you not produce more cholesterol, and it's fiber-based, so it's kind of like a cholesterol magnet. It lowers colonic pH, so it lowers the pH in your gut toward more alkaline, and it stimulates immune protections, in particular for colon cancer, and just kind of boosts your immune system. So that's what this VitaFiber does, and that's what's unique and different from, there's lots of things different, but that's the nugget that's different from the Pure Nourish Peach that you might have experienced the first 8 weeks. So if we move on to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the Pure Nourish Boost. So this is the first one, and we're calling it the Beauty Boost, and we're doing that for a reason. Now this is a smaller bag, and you just put 1 scoop in with your Pure Nourish Natural with your shake, and this particular one, it's orange flavored, and you literally can smell it. When I got the package in the mail, before I even opened the box, I could smell it because those essential oils from the mandarin skin just permeated through. And it tastes just as good as well. So these contain antioxidant superfoods and other nourishing ingredients that promote healthy hair, nails, and skin to support you through weight loss. Now this is really important. You know, when you lose a lot of weight, a lot of times your hair, skin, and nails kind of get run through the ringer, and this is a great support for that because it specifically contains things to help boost your hair, skin, and nails, and that's why we're calling it the Beauty Boost. So people might refer to it as Beauty Boost, people might refer to it just as a Pure Nourish Orange, but those are one and the same. So it contains a handful of ingredients that are geared towards hair, skin, and nails. Biotin, which is also known as vitamin H or B7, is great for hair loss, great for graying hair, great to help hair growth, but it also, as Dr. Mike talked about, is great for stabilizing blood sugars, and it has a lot of other effects as well, but the thing that we're looking for this particular product is the hair, skin, and nails supplementation. The next ingredient is papaya fruit powder, and papayas are known for being very, very high in enzymes, and so they have basically taken this, dehydrated it, crush it into a powder, and so we've got some enzymes. And enzymes are also kind of like little Pac-Men that go up and eat garbage, and so they've included the papaya fruit powder in this. Citrus bioflavonoids, citrus meaning coming from the citrus fruits, which are very high in vitamin C, which helps support collagen. And of course, we want that with our hair, skin, and nails. We want that added protection. And we also have this red seaweed, which you may or may not have heard of, called aquamin. And it's full of trace minerals that are great for healthy hair, skin, and nails. But the main gold nugget ingredient in this is called dermavol. And I'm going to explain exactly what that is in 2 slides. But the next slide, I need to give you a little bit of background on how this dermavol and this entire Beauty Boost orange flavor is really going to help boost your skin in particular. Now, your skin, you probably heard the term elastin. And the elastin in your skin, you want to be, you know, movable and plump and moist and kind of like a baby's bottom, right? But as we age and certainly as we lose weight, a lot of times that's not what we get. Your skin's enemy is an enzyme called elastase. So whenever you see a word, medical terminology with an ASE on the end, that means enzyme. And so this is elastase, and it's related to elastin, except that it doesn't like elastin. And so elastase is a harmful pro-inflammatory, meaning promoting inflammation, enzyme that breaks down and eats away at elastin. So it's kind of like a little Pac-Man itself that eats away at the elastin, and you don't want that to happen. Elastin being a key structural protein vital for elasticity and youthfulness of skin tone. So reducing the amount of activity of the elastase prevents skin aging and wrinkles. So how do we stop this elastase? Now, also note that there is a relationship between this bad enzyme elastase and various diseases, in particular inflammatory diseases, which are pretty much all of modern day diseases, and especially any insulin or blood sugar related conditions. So eating sugar, consuming sugar can stimulate this bad enzyme elastase to start Pac-Manning at your elastin. Trying to make it really simple, but that's, and the bottom line, what happens. Now, we've discovered there are certain plants of the tropic rainforest and various medicinal plants that can actually stop this elastase activity in its tracks to leave behind good quality and quantity of elastin in the skin, and we want that. And so what we've done is we've discovered what these ingredients, these plant ingredients are, and we've put them in this product. Next slide. And that is what comprises the dermavol, that term that I mentioned in the other slide. Now, if you look to the right, there is a list, and it's not all of them, but these are the major phytochemicals or plant nutrients in the dermavol, in that ingredient that we've put together. It's a patent-pending combination of all of these things. And as you can see, there's lots of things there, half of which you can't even pronounce. But these are some of those medicinal plants and rainforest plants. And the studies that just came out are showing that taking dermavol, so that ingredient that we put in the Orange Beauty Boost, with a meal can inhibit the elastase, that bad enzyme that eats up your elastin, can inhibit the activity by 90%, and that is huge. So we're waiting, I think, on some more studies to come out, but that's the latest study that came out showing some amazing results with this one gold nugget ingredient that we've incorporated in this Pure Nourish Orange Beauty Boost. Next slide. Okay, so the next one and the last one that we're going to discuss, we're calling Power Boost, and it is a cocoa flavor, so sort of like a chocolate flavor. It's another home run, has another use to it, but I think you'll find this one very interesting as well, and you might want to just incorporate both of them in your shake. Now this one, and I don't want to make it complicated, but these are some terms that the more you get involved in health and the more you read, you're going to hear, and these are some of the main kind of golden nugget ingredients found in this product, so I want you to be familiar with this. But this is a powerful combination of something called branched chain amino acid. So the link of amino acids are branched, that's why it's called that. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So for example, when I talk about drinking green juice, and you put the vegetables through the juicer, what you're drinking, those are amino acids that your body can utilize in a very bioavailable format, and that's what this is. So we have a powerful combination of branched chain amino acids, something called glutamine, which we'll talk about, as well as medium chain triglycerides. Medium meaning not short, not long, but medium, and triglycerides, which is just another name for fatty acids. And despite the fact that we don't like to think that we're taking in fats, these fatty acids are actually very good for you, and we'll talk about what they do for you. So you combine this with the Pure Nourish Natural, and you put the boost in there, and these are great power products, this particular power boost, for athletes, weekend warriors, even grandma and grandpa, and we'll talk about why, as well as those bogged down with ill health and obesity. And here's why. Next slide. Here we go. Okay, so we want to talk about those amino acids and what they are. Our body uses amino acids to build proteins, not only to make muscles, and that's kind of what they're known for, but it's also needed for hormones and brain chemicals called neurotransmitters. Now, if you've ever met someone who is obese, cranky, and depressed, chances are they're not getting these branched-chain amino acids. And so if you know someone like that, you might want to give them some of this. Next slide. So, but the first group that can utilize this, and this will be you eventually if you're not here yet, because you can take your health to the next level. So athletes and those wanting to get ripped. So if you have friends, or maybe you are an athlete and you want to take it to the next level, the ingredients in this Power Boost will help do that for you. So the branched chain amino acids, their main job is to give you the energy to train harder and longer. And during training, they very specifically make new muscle proteins. Now we sort of know that amino acids help build muscle, and so that's what these in particular are doing. The glutamine promotes muscle mass and strength gains, and it's also utilized by the immune system to help prevent athletes from getting sick. So you want to use some of that in your product as well that you consume. The medium chain triglycerides, they are a fast energy source while maximizing getting shredded with a low-carb diet. So athletes will love this combination. If you are an athlete or you have friends and family that are athletes and you show this to them, they will get it. They will see that the proper ingredients are there for them. So that's the first group that can utilize this. Second group. The second group are those that are overweight, struggling, tired, and about to give up. And I hope that's not you, but if it is, suffice it to say, this can help get you out of that rut. So again, the branched chain amino acids. You can bet if someone is overweight, struggling, tired, and about to give up, they probably don't have these amino acids in their diet and in their system. You will literally feel like you've been given a lifeline for energy and motivation to get off the couch when you start getting these pumped through your system. The glutamine will act very specifically as a muscle builder and a fat chomper. Who doesn't want that? Chomp up the fat, right? And the medium chain triglycerides will prevent the energy crashes because it's fat and it will give you some energy. It's fatty acids, especially during that first phase of Slenderiix, and it will help eliminate the brain fog. So that's the second group that this would really do a number on in a positive way. The next group, and don't laugh about this, hopefully you'll chuckle, Grandma and Grandpa. It's time to toss the walkers, because if they start taking this product, who knows? Grandma might be doing splits on a sign, and Grandpa might be holding himself up sideways on the sign, but that is a Grandma and a Grandpa somewhere. So who knows? Maybe they're taking the Power Boost. Next slide. Okay, so Grandma and Grandpa, we want them to toss their walkers. So the 70 to 100, I guess, age bracket, again, can utilize these three main ingredients, the branched chain amino acids. These supplements will boost levels and to delay the common fatigue often found with this group. They need all the muscle building help they can get, right? Because as you age, you lose muscle if you're not working on building it and not exercising. So this branched chain amino acids will help them as well. The glutamine helps with immune suppression to sickness that is common in that group. And the glutamine will support immunity as well as the muscle building, and so that's good for them. And the medium chain triglycerides may actually prevent the onslaught of neurological brain disease. It protects against protein, so that low sugar, and glucose damage to the brain. So again, all of these three ingredients kind of have their own effect on different groups. And so this is how you can help Grandma and Grandpa. And maybe you're a Grandma and Grandpa. Maybe you know what, a couple months from now you'll be pumping iron like this Grandma. Next slide. So those are the 3 new additions to the Pure Nourish line. We have the natural flavor, which is kind of the base, which is pea protein and cranberry. And again, it's got that vitafiber, that sweetener that's really special and has all of those things that I talked to you about. And then we have the 2 boosts that you can include, the Beauty Boost Orange for hair, skin, and nails, and the Power Boost for the muscle, for getting the couch potato off the couch, and for helping grandma and grandpa. So those are the 3 new additions that you might want to consider, maybe upgrading your Pure Nourish Peach or adding to for the next phase of your program, and kind of see what you get out of it. Woodson?
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. I'm going to put it back here on the Pure Nourish and all of that. Anybody that comes around me, I'm going to be a chocolate drinking, orange smelling person. Now that I know about all that stuff, that's incredible. And even to better understand, because I knew how the drops worked. And I loved hearing the science behind all of it, of why I felt the way that I did, why I felt so great when I took the Xceler8, what it was doing inside of me, how we were able to lose all of those inches. And now with these new additions, would it be safe to say, and I know I'm putting you guys on the spot, but would it be safe to say that with the new additions to our program, if somebody wanted to enhance what they're doing with us with these new Pure Nourish additions, would it be safe to say that we might be able to expect a little bit better or faster results with, it just seems like there's a lot more fat burning with the enzymes breaking things down, aiding to the results that we're looking for, whatever application we want to use. Would it be safe to say that maybe we can speed up that, not tremendously amount, but we'd see a difference?
Oh, I would think so for sure. I mean, you're including things that you may not be including in your diet, and you certainly were not including in your supplementation prior. And these are specifically geared towards, you know, the 3 groups that I talked about. So you should definitely see a little boost going on. Dr. Mike?
Absolutely. I was going to say that I see 3 major components to this. Number 1, for those who are switching from the Pure Nourish Peach to any one of these 2, you should in fact see maybe not massively faster results, but you should see better results. Weight loss sooner, and or mood is better, a whole bunch of things. Secondly, for the group that has already reached goal weight, and so I already have a couple of clients that I'm going to place on the Power Boost formula specifically, because what they wanted was, number 1, lose fat, but number 2, build muscle, because they wanted to work out more, and or one guy in particular wants to compete. So if you're at maintenance, or if we've been able to open a door for what is possible for you, you had given up, you couldn't lose the weight, and you said, well, you know, that's never going to happen, and now we've helped open the door for you, and you go, oh my God, I wonder what else is possible. Well, here is what else is possible. This can be the gateway to what else is possible. And then the third group, for those folks out there who don't like coconut oil, understand coconut oil is it's turning out to be one of the world's most common, abundant, and overlooked superfoods out there. And when Dr. Ginger was talking about there is evidence that medium-chain triglycerides can prevent neurodegenerative diseases, yeah, most of that data comes from the use of coconut oil. Well, here's where I'm going with this. If you don't like coconut oil, you don't like the taste, you don't like the odor, you can't stand to use the stuff, it's okay. You can now use the Power Boost, and it has the MCTs, the same claim to fame, to one of the benefits from coconut oil. It's in the product now.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is fantastic news. Okay,
and one other thing, Woodson, I had to point out is these are ground a lot finer for the purpose of being able to use just the shaker bottle as opposed to having to drag your blender around. So they really blend a lot nicer. You'll see that difference.
Oh, that's great, because I've started taking my shaker cup everywhere with me, so that is wonderful news. And oh, we're getting text messages from people. They're excited about that too, so this is fantastic. Well, I want to thank you both so much for this training tonight. And I really want to thank all of the listeners that are with us right now, and a lot of new faces and a few familiar ones, and we are so excited to help you with your journey. And I want to thank you again, Dr. Ginger, Dr. Mike, for just being so instrumental in everything that we do and the whole health panel. And we will sign off and wish everybody the best. We will see you next week, and we cannot wait to hear what your Migrate 28 transformation is going to be. Y'all take care.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.